Yo, yo. Hey man, look. Sorry I haven't been on camera for a while, but I've actually to do with this COVID thing. Um, okay, so let's get into it. A few questions here. Will the halls open after COVID? Well, the answer is effectively no. If they open, right, they occur massive risk. What's the risk? The risk is that they go to jail. Now, why would they go to jail? Because if, let's say, they open the hall, they turn the key, they open the doors, they bring you in, what happens if you get COVID, right? The law states, it's in the criminal act, if it's a thing called infecting by disease or transference of disease. So if they know that COVID can kill and they open the doors and they let you in and you so much as get one small microbe, right, and they get taken to court, that's it. The judge will just slam down the gavel, and that'll be it. It'll be 10 years jail, and it's not just 10 years jail for the person that turned the key. It's 10 years jail for the whole administration. So all the shareholders and everybody else that said, "Yep, everything's good to go." Now they'll blame the government. They'll say, "Oh yeah, but the government told us that we could open the halls." No, they didn't. The government never said that. The government will say the lockdown has been lifted. That doesn't mean that you can go back to doing what you were doing before. I'll give you an example. It's a bit like saying the government said that you could drive down the motorway, right? Pretty easy. But they never said that you could drive down the motorway at 200 mile an hour. So you still have to abide by the law. Well, you still have to abide by the criminal act, by the law. So if somebody gets COVID, right, and they become asymptomatic, or they get COVID and they die, well, it becomes problems. So here's the range of problems. If they get COVID, right, if they let you in and get COVID, and that means that's called criminal negligence. They go to court. The judge will slam down the gavel and say, "Did you know that COVID could kill?" Yes. Did you know that your hall could have COVID in it? Yes, because all the badminton halls pretty much are covered in COVID. The outside, the insides, everywhere. The nets, the courts, the seats that you sit on, the shuttlecocks that you touch, the whole damn lot. So everything is covered in COVID-19. If you go into a badminton hall, you're probably going to get covered. You're probably going to get COVID. If you get COVID and you take it home, right, then you kill your mum, your dad, your sister, your brother, your uncles. Everywhere you go to the local shop, you talk to the shopkeeper, he gets COVID. You go to a barbecue, they all get COVID. So you kill everybody else, or you give them the virus. So as soon as the virus is transmitted from one to another, that's called infecting by disease, and that holds a 10-year minimum in prison sentence for the person that opened the hall, and everybody, all the club committee, all the shareholders, everyone involved in the administration, they all go to jail. It's 10 years each minimum. It gets worse. Let's say you get COVID and you die. Right? Do you know what that's called? Yep, it's called manslaughter. Right? It's called premeditated manslaughter. And depending on what the judge would say to that as to how long you'd be in jail for, but I can tell you now it'll be way longer than 10 years. What happens if what happens if a bunch of you die? Let's say 20 of you go into the hall and 20 of you get COVID and 20 of you die. You know what that's called? It's called premeditated mass murder. Now, even though this sounds funny, this is actually reality. So, will you be going down to badminton? No. Will they be opening up the halls? Well, if they do and you get COVID, they're in the shit. So that's number one. So hopefully that's answered that question. So there's two things that can shut down a hall. Well, actually, there's three things that can shut down a hall. One is the bank. If you don't pay the bank their mortgage, then they can shut you down. And a lot of these hall owners have these massive mortgages with these banks, and they treat badminton like a business. And they, if they've already paid the mortgage off, then they're on their second, third, fourth mortgage, which means they're off buying their own homes, or they're off buying their own batches, or their supercars, or whatever. And so they have to remain in the hall to keep that money flowing. If that money stops, well, that mortgage doesn't get paid, bang, the bank steps in and takes it, because it's now a commercial loan. So some of these halls will be going broke, and going broke fast. So that's number one. So will the halls open? I don't think they will. If they are able to open, will they actually open? I don't think they will. I don't think that any hall owner is going to take that risk at all. And of course, course the health department will just swoop in and shut you down. It's that simple. All right. Next question. Do I think that Badminton England can come back after the loss of funding? Okay, so UK Sport effectively dumped Badminton England, $10 million. Adrian Christie lost that money overnight. What CEO in the world has ever lost $10 million overnight? Only one. That would be him. I've dealt with Adrian Christie. I've dealt with Badminton England, and quite frankly, they're not worth dealing with. If I had shares in Badminton England, I would have dumped them tomorrow. And I do buy stocks. So no. Now, unfortunately, there's a lot of great people in England. I've got friends all over England, right, from north to south, West Sussex. I've got friends in Liverpool and Brighton, and all the way down the bottom in Dorset. So there's some really great people in England. It's always the wankers that always ruin it for the rest of them. The English have a problem, and the problem is pedophilia. What they do is these guys come down here from Milton Keynes or wherever they're coming down from. Generally, they say they're from Milton Keynes. They come down here to New Zealand. They pretend to be badminton coaches, and then they sidle up next to the junior players, junior girls. And I don't know what it is about English guys and Asian girls, but generally these English guys just want to fuck the Asian girls. And when I mean juniors, I don't mean junior girls. I mean junior girls. So you've got to watch out for these guys. There's a lot of pedophiles in England. If you look it up, there's more pedophiles in England than per capita than any other country in the world. So you've really got to watch out for these slime buckets. And unfortunately, for all you great people in England that are genuinely good dudes, it's always the slimy ones that spoil it for you. But that's always the ones that we get seen down here. So if the English knock on your front door and say that they're coaches, slam the door in their faces. These are the guys that I've had to deal with on the forums. You email these guys, you talk to these guys, and these guys will just run away like chicken shits. So would I deal with the English? No. If I had shares in Badminton England, I would have dumped them tomorrow. So yeah, no, they're not going to come back from. They're not going to come back from from the funding. UK Sport Funding was right to dump them. Can they win on the world circuit? No, they're not going to win any trophies. The Chinese, the Indonesians, they're coming last. All right, so I'll give you the top 10 off the top of my head. Here we go. So you've got Indonesia, China, Malaysia, Singapore, Taiwan, Hong Kong. Did I say China? India, Germany, Denmark. You got some guys in Canada who are pretty good. You got some guys in Australia who are pretty good. Where does England come? 10th, 11th, 12th, right? They're behind Vietnam. They're behind Cambodia. So they're behind Germany. What about Japan? There's all these companies. There's about 20 different countries, and then there's England. So do you honestly think that they can beat their way through all those countries to win a trophy? They can't. There's no way. Not a chance, right? So UK Sport Funding to dump Badminton England and then throw that money somewhere else like rowing, I think that was a good proposition. So yeah, I don't think that badminton's going to is in my view going to remain. And it's a shame because I've actually got some damn good players. But to a certain degree, I know some of the players, I know some of them personally, and I know that they get treated like shit. So why would you want to do your best for a country that treats you like shit? I don't know. That's just England. That's just the way it is. Right. Next question. Is badminton losing its luster? Yeah, it is. If you look around the world with a lot of tournaments, a lot of top players, and a lot of these halls, look into the crowds. There's nobody there. There's just nobody. For the people that are there, like even in and it's not a case of it's not a case of COVID's around and no one's going to the halls. No, lots and lots of people just aren't showing up. So if you go to these European tournaments, a lot of these top European players, no one's there watching. Look in the crowd. there's just nobody there. In some of these Asian countries, I've got a friend of mine who actually goes. His job is to go to the local schools and try and get crowds. So he goes off to the local schools or local high schools or whatever, and he has all these thunder sticks, and he says, okay, when Lin Dan wins, bang your thunder sticks together. When Lee Chong Wei wins, bang your sticks together, and they sort of stick them, here and there in the crowd, right? And then they have the cameras facing the crowd, but you'll find that a lot of the times there's not many people in the crowds. The only person that could truly draw a crowd would be Lin Dan, but is badminton losing its luster? Yes, it is. In the last 4 years, I think we've Badminton has lost 9 clubs. It's lost most of its top players. Everyone's just got sick and tired of the halls and the politics and the bullshit, so they've just walked out. I kind of walked out with it because it was just they get pissy. If you beat them at their own game, they just get pissy. I've played sort of, you go and play for one hall, then you get sick and tired of it. The same people, same shit. So you go and play for another hall, and then they try and hook you and say, oh, you're gonna play for us, and you say, look, I don't really want to play for you, I'm just interested in hitting around for a while. But they really want to get you to play, or sign up. Membership and stuff like that. And I'm not interested in paying Joe Hitchcock membership because, quite frankly, I'm not really getting anything out of it. So, what you have to understand about how badminton works is essentially, it's how many people join, $100 each per player. That's how Joe Hitchcock makes his money, right? So that's all he does. He just looks at his calculator and says, okay, well, how many people, or we've got to try and get as many people as possible, $100 each. I'm making money. Right, and then he tries to sort of spread it out throughout all the halls, pay their mortgages and stuff like that. But a lot of people just aren't doing it. The last tournament that we had here, only 6 people entered. 6. That's it. 6 singles players. So it was just 6 guys on 3 courts. That was it. It was pretty bad. And in the old days, it would have been 200 people in the hall, and A graders too. So you look down the hall and you go, holy crap, man, there's some strong players here today. You'd panic. You'd go, he could win it today. But now you look down the hall and you're thinking, geez, where is everyone? So badminton is losing its luster, and it's losing its luster for a few reasons. Number one, there's a lot of drugs in the hall now. So a lot of guys are stuffing badminton, getting their rackets and pushing drugs up their handle, and they put the cap back on, putting a grip back on, they're selling it off to the juniors, saying, oh, this stuff will make you run better, and the juniors go, really? So what's being shoved up there? Well, you got pea and spice. So and of course, as soon as these guys get hooked up on pea and spice, they're not coming to the badminton halls anymore. Now they're just at home, eyes roll back in their head, and they're sort of sitting there going, whoa, So these so the drug dealers are winning. 2 is that the schools cannot promote badminton through the schools, because if they know that the drugs are through the halls, they can't send their kids to the halls, right? The headmasters have a fiduciary duty not to do that. So now the badminton halls, because they've got such a bad reputation, the schools are now just booting them out. So that's kind of that. The other thing too is that there's no women that play badminton really. There's very, very few. Out of the 10 guys that play, out of the 50 guys that play, there'll be 1 woman. And even then she'd be a D grader. She'd have no idea. Does anybody want to teach her? Not really. It's just, nobody really wants to teach them because, number one, they don't know how to teach it. Right? Badminton's a very, very complex game. And any top coach will tell you that. Once you start getting really, really good, badminton becomes easy. But to try and learn it from a beginner's perspective, it's bloody difficult. So it just gets harder and harder. The halls here in New Zealand are pretty much decrepit. They smell bad. They smell like urine. They smell like shit. One of our major halls here, College Rifles, it's got possum shit literally running down the walls, and on a hot day you can just smell the possum shit and the possum urine. Bloody Auckland's the same, North Harbour's the same. It's just the people there are awful, right? The people at North Harbour, they spit on people, they spit on you. I've been spat on at North Harbour, my friends have been spat on at North Harbour because they think they're shit hot. And if you walk in the hall, they'll just sort of spit on you and degrade you and things of that nature. Now I've actually spoke to Glenn Cox about this and said, because he's the manager there, and I said, hey Glenn, you got to have a talk to me about this. People are spitting on each other. You know what his response to me was? We don't give a fuck. As long as his players are spitting on everyone else, right? So the guy's a bit of a dick. And Glenn Cox, if you want to take up umbrage with me, come see me. You've got my email. But yeah, it's this is happening at North Harbour Badminton. So a lot of players have walked out of there because of it, and the spitting is a disgusting habit. Now, if they're spitting and they've got COVID, now they're not just doing that, but now they're infecting other people by spitting. So no, you can't go to North Harbour and start and if you go to North Harbour and they spit on you and they've got COVID, you're dead. So no, I wouldn't be going there. A lot of the halls are decrepit, and they're in bad shape. So that's not good. The coaches, what are the coaches like down here? I'd say 2% out of them are any good, and the rest of them are fakes. What you've got is a guy called Joe Hitchcock, who's sort of the CEO. He's not the CEO. He's just a marketing guy, and he's running around trying to generate numbers. And he says, well, we need better coaches. But the coaches, he's trying to train coaches, but he hasn't got a clue. He doesn't play badminton. He'd be a degrader. Like if I had a game against Joe, he wouldn't get a single point. It'd be 21-love. So, but what he tries to do is he says, oh well, that's not my job to be a player. It's my job to administrate. Right, so he brings in, he tries to bring in these systems from overseas, like shuttle time. Well, I've had a look at shuttle time. Shuttle time, honestly, no, it's been a complete disaster. No one's done it down here. Nobody wants to do it. The kids don't want to do it. It's basically it's badminton babysitting. The coaches don't know what they're doing. The kids just run around the halls, just throwing shuttlecocks at each other, and it's just useless. So, it's been a complete and utter catastrophe, and this is the sort of thing that Joe buys into. Why? Because it's free. I think Joe's English. I mean, trying to bring in an English system, but Shuttle Time looks to me like, honestly, it was designed by an English guy, a drunk English guy in a pub, while he was drunk. That's what Shuttle Time looks like to me. It's completely useless. Somebody brought it into my hall, because I've got a hall, and I just put it in the shredder and I said, don't bring me this rubbish. So what hall do I own? I've got a building. I've got 3 courts, but 3 brand new courts, but my cars are parked on 2 of the courts, and I have 1 court for me and my friends. Just personally for us. Can you rock up? Can you just rock up and play on my courts? No, you can't. You'd have to know the key to the front gate, and you need to be invited by me. So you can't just sort of rock up. The other thing with coaches down here in New Zealand is that the tax department is now running around looking for the coaches. Why? Because they're not paying their taxes. So they'll take cash on the side of the court, but they're not actually declaring that income. As soon as you don't declare the income, that now becomes a criminal act. So how do I know? Because the tax department got a hold of me and said, do you know this guy? Do you know this guy? Do you know this guy? Do you know this woman? Do you know? I said, yeah, that one's at North Harbour. That one's at North Harbour. That one's at North Harbour. That one's at Auckland. That one's at Counties. That one's at Waitakere. That one's at Waitakere. Right? And I said, thank you very much. So, I paid my taxes, but they certainly are after all these coaches. Now these coaches start diving out of windows saying, oh no, hey, it wasn't me. But it's too late, because what they've done is they've got their pictures, these little sort of passports on the wall, and all these coaches, all the tax department goes around just taking snapshots of their phone and saying, oh, this guy's a coach. So they want to know, who you've been coaching, how much money you've been making, and when your last declaration was. And if you haven't, well, that's it. You're in a lot of trouble. So that's where that is. So yeah, I'd say 2% of the coaches in New Zealand would be really good coaches, top guys, top players, right? They'd be A-graded Division 1 players and great coaches, but the rest of them would be fakes. So just because Joe Hitchcock wants numbers doesn't mean that what you're going to get is quality. So quite frankly, it's pretty shit. Badminton is now seen in schools as a hate sport. Everyone hates each other. The halls hate each other. The pro shops hate each other. The players hate each other. Everyone hates each other. Go on the forums, right? There's five pages dedicated to hating me, and I took those forums and I showed them to the headmasters at the local meeting, and they said, "Shit, this isn't good." So, now badminton is now being dumped as a sport because the headmasters have a fiduciary duty to the students, and they cannot be seen to be promoting hate sports through their local schools. So now badminton's been dumped. So now there's just nobody in the halls. Nobody. If you rock up to badminton, you'll be lucky if people show up. You'll be lucky, and the people that do show up, well, they might be degraders or a couple of guys that say, how does this work? But most of the tournaments now, there's not many tournaments. Most of the there's not many. Nobody wants to coach children, for God's sake. Why? We actually had a meeting here at my house, and there were 13 guys here, because what happened was that one of the coaches was accused of sexual molestation when it actually didn't happen. When they said it was happened, the guy was actually in Australia, and we know that the kid was a bullshitter. But the problem is that the problem is that sort of shit sticks. So, and they thought it was funny. So we all said, hey, shit, if this was going to happen, then none of us want to be coaches. So it's a little bit like, stick your head in the noose and then give the other end to the kid and say yank it whenever you want. So nobody wants to coach children because they're just too risky. Nobody wants to coach women. It's the same thing. They get pissy, too risky. Nobody wants to coach pissy guys, too risky. Nobody wants to coach the English. Again, they're too pissy. Don't give the other end to anybody, right? So take the noose off your neck and then walk away and say no. So nobody's being coached. Nobody wants to coach. Nobody wants to get caught up in the coaching. There's no funding because badminton is now the lowest sport in New Zealand. Shit. There's more people that play Scrabble in New Zealand than play badminton. Now you'll say, but badminton's is the fastest growing sport in schools. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not even close. No. If you go to a badminton hall, you'll find that it's always the same people, always the same guys, the same 10 or the same 20 people, the same week, and it just gets boring after a while. It's the same game. It's not. You're not really going to get much. But if you go to a game of a competition of Scrabble, right? There'll be people wall to wall, right? It's called word masters, right? Now, who would think that Scrabble would be, would be exciting? Well, I wouldn't, but people do, and I can tell you now that there's more people that watch and play Scrabble than play a game of badminton. Badminton is now being watched on YouTube, and if you look at it on YouTube, it's not that much. So that's that. So now badminton's being seen as a hate sport, and it's people are spitting on each other, people are hating on each other. So now the headmasters are now throwing it out. They asked me, I was at the meeting, and they said, "What do you think?" And I said, "It's a hate sport. It used to be great. It used to be great. It was kick-ass, man. But now, no. Pretty bad." So what happens is that now the halls will now drop off. Why? Because the halls need money to pay their mortgages, right? You got, remember the big thing you walk into, a big hall. It's usually got car parks. Usually got license fees for the bar. Food handling certificates. All sorts of guys. You might have a security guy at the front gate. You might have camera gear around. You might have all sorts of stuff. But generally, that thing is a giant big overhead. And it costs money, and if you don't get those people in with that money, right? If you're not selling them stuff in any way, shape you can, then you're going to lose money. You're going to lose it fast. So this is what happens when you don't get kids anymore, because now they can't promote the badminton through the halls, right? They just can't do it. So there's no more massive kids coming through. So no more massive money. So now they're just trying to sort of run things on the smell of an oily rag. Well, what about my hall? Well, I don't need money. My building's paid off. That's it. That's my hall. I walk in whenever I want, smack shuttlecocks, and invite whoever I want. So it doesn't bother me. But these public halls, these guys need money like crazy. So it's a bit of a problem for them. So they're not gonna, if these guys got mortgages and they need that money, they're gonna lose it. The bank's gonna ring them up and say, "Hey, where's our money?" And sooner or later, there's gonna be a big sticker across the door saying, "Closed until further notice." Under new management or under administration or liquidation sale, things like that. All right. Some of you have also asked me about Swift, Jonathan Swift, and I've seen him on YouTube. I've emailed him a couple of times. What do I think? I think he's a scam. I don't think he's the real deal. As a matter of fact, he's actually said on a podcast he doesn't know what he's doing. He's just trying to be a badminton entrepreneur, and he's trying to make money however he can because he sees the numbers in badminton and he will just blurt things out. To say that Torfik's backhand is supinating and then to blurt it out and make that to be so, that's a real scam. Jonathan Swift, if you want to take umbrage with me on that, you're more than welcome. And let's find out who's right. But I do physics on a daily basis, and I can tell you, you're not even close to being right. No. I said to him that there was 9. I got 9 top Division 1 players that will come to England, train with him, and I would get a camera, and we'll see how good this guy is. But I don't think this guy's even played in a tournament in his life, right? And to run around with Ben Beckman and say, he's got some kind of credibility, that wouldn't give me any credibility at all. So that's my answer to Jonathan Swift. I think he's a scam. The other guy, the blonde guy, I can't remember what his bloody name is now, but he's running around saying the Badminton family. When somebody says family, be very, very careful. That's another scam. It's a little bit like pimpology, where the pimp tries to make a family of hoes and a family of tricks. That wouldn't get me at all. But I've contacted the guy, and again, I've had nothing in response. Right, so I called Paul Stewart. Nothing in response. Typical English guy. These guys will not respond to you. Right, if you challenge them, they just won't respond. They'll go, oh shit, they'll go away. Right, they will not talk to you. Jonathan Swift won't talk to you. These guys, Badminton Bible guy, again, another scam from England. These guys, a lot of scammers from England, and it's just really, really bad. So that's my answer. A young guy called Rasmus, where did he go? It's telling you that power is generated from the feet. How is power generated? Please, Rasmus, please inform me. How is power generated from the feet? It's not generated from the feet at all, right? We've got one of our another scammer down here. He owns a hall. He's an Indian guy down here, and he thinks he's very, very smart, right? I'm smarter than you, because he wants to pay his mortgage off with badminton players. He goes around telling, his name's Dev. He goes around telling kids that he trained Lin Dan. He trained Lin Dan. Now I've played this guy. I played with him. I played against him at his hall. He does own his own hall. And any kid that comes in, any little bright-eyed little Indian boy or girl comes up and goes, oh wow, and then he goes, oh, I trained Lin Dan, and they go, really? Oh, okay. Well, how much are you? I'm $80 an hour. Well, I'll train with you then. Good scam, Dev. But Dev would be a C-grade player. I've played him every single time, and every single time he's lost to me. So, and I've had to try and sit with him until about 11 o'clock at night, trying to teach him what a flare means. So, he has no idea how rackets are strung. He has no idea how rackets are used. He doesn't know how shuttles are used, but he's quite willing to tell children that he coached Lin Dan. When I approached him on this and said, did you just say that you coached Lin Dan to that kid? Because there's like a curtain in between one court and the other, and I was standing on this side, and he just happened to be on the other side. We all heard him, and I said, did you just say that you coached Lin Dan to that kid? He goes, oh no, what I meant was I could coach Lin Dan. And then he started to try and tell me that he was a Christian, and that he had all sorts of documents from India, which were probably bloody fake, that he bought at a local bullshit market. But basically, when you do that, when you have to tell people that you coach Lin Dan, that just says fraud. I mean, that's just that's just flat out fraud. I mean, that's something that an Indian guy would do. So, so you've asked me a few questions here. I hope that's answered a few of things. But how's badminton doing? It's going bad, right? There's less players, right? Everyone's rude to each other, so everyone starts leaving. They try and up the prices, so everyone leaves again, and everyone starts spitting on each other, starts degrading each other, so they leave again. There's the tournaments are few and far between, and they're quite shitty. So and they're not really, they're quite lacklustrish, so they leave again. And now you've got things like the drugs in the hall, so people leave again. The schools aren't promoting badminton, so they leave again. And now you've got COVID-19, that just drops it right on the bottom. So will the halls reopen? Well, what do you think? Do you think the halls are going to reopen? Oh, but the government said so. It's not the government you have to listen to, it's the law. Okay, go and look up the Crimes Act. Go and look up infection by disease, transferring of disease. Go and check it out. Go and check out the health department. Right? So, if you can run a badminton hall and not transfer any diseases and not kill anybody, you might get away with it. But if one person gets a microbe in them, it's 10 years jail. Go and look it up. It's in the Crimes Act. Anyway, that's it. That's it for now. I'm getting tired, and that's that. If anyone wants to make any comments, or because I know you do, right? Everyone gets angry and grumpy when you mention badminton because, quite frankly, it's a personal sport, right? Leave messages in the comments. Knock yourselves out, right? You know you want to. Get angry, and start writing. Anyway, gotta go.